Welcome, Jeanieva Faith, to the Get Up Girl podcast. You are my girl, one of my besties, and I'm so happy and grateful that you're joining me for this Facebook Live and podcast interview. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here with you. I love our time together. I love our interviews together. I love sharing stories. So this is really great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited because you're one of my besties, and we've spent many days at the park during quarantine, lifting each other up this year because you and I have had many falls,
Yeah.
and I am the Get Up Girl. So I do want to talk about well, let's go just so people get to know you a little bit better. You are a Reiki
Sure.
master. You are a complete wordsmith. You're really good at words and writing. And how did you get into Reiki?
I got into Reiki because I always had like an intuitive gift. It was passed down from my grandmother, and coupled with my desire to help people and inspire people. I had a Reiki session with a friend from high school years ago, 2015, 2014 even maybe, and I felt so much better after. I'm like, I need to learn this and I need to do it, and I hit the ground running, and here I am today.
Yeah, I love that. And I've had a Reiki session with you, and it's just really incredible. Yeah, if anybody out there is like, what is Reiki? How can you explain Reiki in one sentence?
Oh, one sentence. Okay, it's an energetic healing modality. It's a Japanese healing modality based on the principle that the practitioner, myself, can channel life force energy into my client, and it helps on so many different levels: the spiritual, emotional, physical level.
I didn't know it was Japanese. Interesting. Okay, well, makes sense. Reiki, the word Reiki. Okay, well, let's talk about getting back up because you have a phenomenal story and you have written an article for one of my dun 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 drum roll future businesses that is going to be launching. And I'm not going to announce it today, yet it is being formulated and created and will be birthed in next year. I wanted to let everybody know about what you're going to be writing about because I just think it's a really interesting, phenomenal story of adversity and how you got back up. And I would love for you to tell us a story that I forget how many years ago it was, but you were engaged to get married. And long story short, your fiance ghosted you. Like, talk about ghosting on apps today or dating guys. I mean, to be ghosted and never heard from your fiance and to get back up. Please tell us that story.
Sure. Yeah, he ghosted me before ghosting was even a thing. So, but
Before there was a hashtag.
I, but I love sharing this story because I feel like it was my rebirth. And it's something that I celebrate or at least commemorate every year. I do a Facebook post, or I'll do like a healing day, a self love day. So it's a very pivotal story for me. It was 15 years ago already. I was engaged to be married. We were happy. We had everything set. I had the dress, which is a phenomenal story in itself. We had the church booked and the reception and the honeymoon and the save the date cards were out and everything was set. And it was one day to the next. I get my phone to call my fiance, and his number was changed, and then my phone didn't work, and my heart dropped into my stomach and nearly fell out of my ass. It was so shocking. Like it was like a literal punch in the gut. I couldn't get a hold of him. I tried going to his house. We were young. He was living with his parents at the time. His parents wouldn't even let me speak to him. To this day, I don't know what happened. I don't know why he did that. And it was something that I really just had to move forward with without having any closure. I'm like, I'm not going to get my closure. I'm not going to get my explanation. I'm not going to get my apology. and I'm just going to have to move on.
How old are you when this happened?
I was 26.
And for him to change the number, and to this day, I mean, how many years later, you still don't know.
Still don't know.
How did you
I
get
mean,
back up after that? What are some of the things that you did?
oh, what was very, I think the most significant way that I got up was through my faith. I mean, faith is my middle name, like literally. So I really just had to have faith that it was for a reason and that something better was coming. You know, I did think at that point that the something better was going to be, you know, a new love, a new fiance, a new husband. And that, as it turns out, was not the case. But things really, truly did turn out for me better than I could have ever imagined. Like, I never would have imagined that I would have started a Reiki practice. I never would have imagined that I would, you know, be a businesswoman, that I would have these incredible friendships and these amazing relationships, or, you know, like experiences, you know, like, so I had to have faith in something bigger than myself. I wasn't quite sure what it was. Again, I thought it was going to be a new man. But it turned out to be completely different. So that was really important to me. It was having that inner knowing that everything was going to be okay. And also leaning on my friends. During this time, I had a friend who went through something similar. Her husband had left her, so, and we were already like very close. So we really bonded, and we, you know, just decided to have like the best summer possible, or, you know, the best lives that we could possibly create for ourselves, which was wonderful. And in that summer where we were having these great adventures, like I lived a lifetime. Like, there were incredible experiences that I had, which was great. But unfortunately, because I didn't deal with my grief head on and honor my sadness, it kind of prolonged my healing process. And while I wouldn't change any of that for anything, I did gain the lesson of, you really have to sit with your feelings and honor your feelings and love your sadness, and it just makes everything easier to move on.
We are all
You
of
get
it.
over it
Yeah,
quickly.
we
Yes.
are the sadness and we are the happiness. So you moved through it. Every year, you said you do an anniversary on the day you were supposed to get married. Is it the day he left you, or the day? Okay, the day that you were supposed to get married, and you kind of honor that as a rebirth. That is a
Yes.
really cool takeaway for anybody listening, for something pivotal that happened in their life. And as you're saying that, I'm like, how can I honor something that, if I would have chosen that, would have taken me down a completely different path, and having so much appreciation for that change. And I really, really like that. So as you're speaking, I'm like, what can I honor as an anniversary, as now that I can see it in, an aerial view? Because when you're in it, when you're in the muck, yeah, there's no anniversary I want to have. But now looking back at it, what a gift. You said you had the wedding dress, and then there's a great story with the wedding dress, because that dress was meant for another beautiful woman. Tell us about that.
Yes. Oh, I love this story, and I'm grateful to have had many magical experiences in my life, but this is by far my favorite, or at least one of my very favorites. So I had purchased this dress, and it was the most beautiful dress that I had ever seen in my entire life. And when I put it on at the shop, everyone, customers, the salespeople, I'm like, why can't I think of words? Getting really excited about my story here. They were like, "This is your dress." It was a dream dress. I mean, just princessy to the max. And I was so excited because it was one of the only things that I was paying for by myself. So I did my little payments, and
Mhm.
really excited. And I remember going home and talking to my fiance about my dress, and just kind of joking with him and describing this hideous dress. And just a side note, to this day, I still kind of like, I'm like, oh, to this day, he probably still thinks that I was going to walk down the aisle with some puffy sleeves. So it tugs at my heart a little bit. But, so when my fiance did leave me and I couldn't muster the strength to go and pick it up. And, they were calling me from the shop and they were like, oh, you really need to come and get your dress. So, oh my goodness. Okay, there's just so much to this dress. I picked it up on a Sunday. That Friday, before my friends and I had gone out to the beauty bar in Hollywood. That was our spot, doesn't exist anymore. And we met these gentlemen that we kind of like hit it off with. And, back in your 20s, you kind of just make out with everyone.
20?
I did. and I kissed this gentleman, and it was such a beautiful, magical kiss, and my foot popped, and it was great. And I'm like, this was a very lovely experience. Didn't think anything of it. Didn't get his number. Not anything. And this was in Hollywood. So I go with my mother to pick up my dress in Pasadena that Sunday, and the door was jammed. And then I hear a voice say, "Oh, it looks like you're locked out." I look up. Tell me why it's that guy. It's the guy from Friday night. So from then we embarked on this lovely love affair that lasted a year. Yeah, just about one trip around the sun, and it was healing and it was beautiful. So I had this attachment to this dress because to me it was symbolic of things turning out better than you could imagine. Like, wow, like that was some like destiny shit right there. Like, I met this guy in Hollywood. He turns out to have a penthouse right across the street from the bridal shop in Pasadena. And we just so happened to
and see him the week after. Wow. Magic.
Yeah. So yeah, just so he was a very important part of my healing process, because I'm not sure I could have gotten through that day without having the butterflies and the delight of seeing him outside of the bridal shop. So I picked up the dress, still the most beautiful dress I have ever seen in my life. And I went and I got it preserved and put in a box, and I kept the box under my bed, and I kept it for years. And my parents would be like, "You still have that box under your bed? You still have that box under your bed?" And they're like, "Are you kidding? Like, that's probably why you don't have a boyfriend, or that's probably why you haven't like gotten married, or they're like." And I was like, it's just so special to me. I really want to do something special with it. So I looked into different charities to donate to, and nothing really came together. Nothing worked. I tried selling it. It didn't work. And so, I kept it until I knew what to do with it, I guess. And one day my mom she was like, "You know what? You still have that dress under your bed." She was like, "Get it. We're going to go and give it away. Alfred Angelo is closing. There's a bunch of women in line over there. You're just going to find someone and you're just going to give it to her." And I'm like, "Okay, whatever. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get rid of this dress and just trust faith." Here, comes the faith again, that it's going to end up exactly where it needs to end up. But at that point, I had it for so long. I'm like, well, I guess it doesn't even matter if it ends up exactly where it's supposed to end up. We just need to get rid of it. So we pull up, and lo and behold, there was a big long line of, women trying to get in to get their wedding dresses. And before the car even came to a complete stop, I saw her, and I got out, and I went up to her, and beautiful young girl, so in love, with long, gorgeous brown hair. She's about the size that I was when I was 26, and I just said, "Are you looking for a wedding dress?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I might have something for you. Come take a look." And it was like this, shady drug deal in the parking lot. And so I opened up the box, because she was like, her and her family were like, "What is going on?" And I opened up the box, and she gasped and cried, and her family's crying, I'm crying, and she took it, and she was so grateful, and she got my number, And, her mom got my number and her mom took a picture of her in it that day. And it was a perfect fit. She needed absolutely no alterations at all whatsoever. And seeing that, I just knew that that is why I held on to the dress. I get so emotional. That is why I held on to the dress. It wasn't mine. It was hers. It was hers all along. So, and I was so fortunate enough to stay connected to her. And I even went to her wedding and got to see her walk down the aisle in the dress that I thought was mine, but was actually hers all along.
She invited you to the wedding and you went. And how was that feeling watching her walk down the aisle in your dress? Well, now her dress.
It was incredible. It was just this full circle and this completion, and I felt so good because I knew that I had held on to it for a reason. I held on to it for her, and it gave me so much hope, I guess, that things do work out better than you can even imagine. And I felt so good. It was an indescribable feeling. And I'm usually really good with words. So the fact that I'm speechless, it meant so much to me.
And I know you have a picture of her wedding day with you and her that is so magical. And we're going to be sharing that as well. I just think that is such a great story. It's really full circle and truly having the faith of, yeah, these things, magic happens all the time. And where do you think you'd be today if you married that gentleman?
I think that I would be living a probably mediocre life, and I'd be, a wife and a mother, and I'd have, a real job. And I would probably be very unhappy because something that I don't really talk about a lot is the fact that and I loved him and he was my best friend, and I definitely could envision my life with him, and we probably would have been happy as far as I, knew what happiness was at that moment. But there was a little tiny something of I want more and I want bigger. But I didn't know what that was, and I didn't know what that meant. So I think that God was like, yeah, okay, I hear you, and let's do this. And it was a painful way for me to get where I needed to be, but I think that it was important, and I think it's exactly what needed to happen. And there was a time that, and I remember this so vividly. There was a time that him and I were meeting with another couple. We went on a double date, and his friend's wife was telling me about how she got butterflies whenever he'd come home. And she's like, don't you just love those butterflies that you get? And I was like, butterflies? Wait, what? I didn't have them. So I sought to find them, and later in life, I knew exactly what she was talking about. And
Jeanieva, were you secretly happy when it did not go through? Or maybe unconsciously didn't know you were?
That's a great question. I don't know if I was secretly happy, but I definitely felt
relief.
I felt on the right path, because I didn't know what to do. I was just left with just pieces to pick up. Like him and I had built a life together already. We weren't officially married, but we were dating a while, and we were engaged a while, and
so it was starting all over for your life too, not just from that wedding. Of cleaning up the wedding, but actually restarting your own life by yourself as Jeanieva. Okay, I totally get it. You and I are in the journey of dating, of being open for a new partner and being patient to find that person that we know that will give us butterflies. And I do get the question personally, and I'm sure you do too. Like, why are you not married? What happened? Or the head tilt like that.
Mhm.
And I could have been married 100 times. Finding a man to get married is easy, in my opinion. But knowing and having those butterflies is different.
Yes.
And knowing what I truly desired, would like to have in my life, the level up, the upgrade, and being patient. For me, it's patience. And so you and I are dating. And so anybody out there that's single that's listening, or maybe you're not single and just curious, like so that we can invite you into this journey. We share stories a lot, because we're on these apps and we're talking to how can I explain it with the energy I'd like to say of it's a learning lesson. It's like a wow, it's such a master's degree in personal development going, "Oh, this is what I would like. This is what I do not like. This is what I would like." And it's just like it like you said, life universe is kind of pushing you in that way. And how have you had the patience or have had the patience to know what you want, to know when you know it? How do you have that?
Um, Sometimes I don't. Like
Who
sometimes
that? Who that?
sometimes I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like I'm still single and what if I'm single forever? And just, sometimes it makes me sad and sometimes it makes me angry. Um, but but overall I know that there's a higher purpose for it. And I think that, having that faith that I did when my fiance ghosted me, that something better was out there, and having, the 15 years of a life that was better in different ways than I could have imagined, I have to believe that for, my future relationships, or, the fact that I'm single. But, it's not always easy. I'm not always patient. It's not always sunshine and rainbows, because sometimes I'm frustrated. But my higher knowing knows that it's for a purpose.
Yes. For me, I can't explain it. I'm like, I just know he's there. He is there. He's
Mhm.
looking for me. I'm looking for him. He's there. Right. And having that faith and knowing that for me, like I don't have to walk around and explain that. And I think it takes a lot of courage to choose that, to choose a different path, to be, in our 40s and we don't have the cliche uh, future that other people have on paper. And it's just, I think it takes a lot of courage. And I do want to tell more of these stories of standing out, of being the unicorn, and that you're not the only unicorn. You'll find other unicorns out there. You'll find other lone wolves that will choose different. And even if you did choose, that path, I wonder, for like you, Jeanieva, do you think you would have been this age married to that guy going, what's next? Maybe you wanted to leave or would you have stayed? I mean, who knows what would have happened, right? But I wonder, with divorce and things of that nature, are we really truly happy in these relationships, or we just stay because we should, and I think I've learned a lot on these dating apps talking to these men that are divorced, and it's a whole new conversation that I'm having. It's so interesting and intriguing to me to hear their stories of that. And also to get the question, Jeanieva, from the men, like, what's wrong with you? What, you never been married? What's wrong? Oh, they're just waiting for the shoe to drop. I'm like, there's nothing wrong. I just said no to many men. No, yeah, they asked me, but I just didn't take that. Uh, so moving forward, how are you choosing you when it comes to men currently?
I'm not settling, and I know, people and like parents and things are like, why don't you just your standards are too high. You should just lower your standards so that you're not
Mm.
alone. I'm like, I'm
You should
42 years
lower
old.
your standards so you're not alone.
Yes, that is the mentality that a lot of people have. That is the mentality that I grew up with, and that's the mentality that I probably had when I said yes to marrying this gentleman. And not that I didn't love him, but I didn't know any different. That's what you do, you
That's
know.
what you do. And the word settle down. Settle and down. Those two words combined. Why don't you settle down? I'm like, I never want to settle down. I want to level up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
And
like, why settle now? I'm 42. Why settle now? Like, we might as well, like,
have the
sugar
patience. Yes. I think it takes a lot of courage to be alone, to choose alone instead of having a warm body there.
Yes.
I will settle. I will lower my standards just so I have a warm body there, someone to text me, someone to make me feel good. And I'm like, I make me feel good. And then when I'm down, I call my girlfriends to remind me. Like I'll call you and I'll say, remind me that I'm special. Just remind me. Just remind me that there's nothing wrong with me. Just please tell me there's nothing wrong with me. And I think it takes a lot of faith to not believe that there's something wrong with you of why you are a unicorn. You are a lone wolf. I'm like, there's other unicorns out there and I will call them to lift me up. I really wanted to share these stories. And, you and we've talked about these gentlemen that we're dating, or at least have been, or that their expectations of women are so low as well.
Oh, yes.
Very low. Like, you should just want A and B. And we're like, oh, no, we want C and D and E and F. And they're like, wait, wait, wait. They have compared us to so many other women in their past. They're going, oh my gosh, you have such high standards. Whatever that word is that they're going to put in, that vibration of word, you're too picky. Heck yeah, I am picky. Heck
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I want the best. Heck yeah, I want to be a power couple, of course. And I could feel being sucked in when they say that. Like, I do want to lower my expectations and what I would like. I'm like, this is required for Joanna. This is what I would like. And I'm patient enough to wait for him or whomever that person is. So, do you think that women or any gender lower themselves and then or we teach people around us to think lower so that when we come to them, they're already expecting that. Do you think that happens? And I hope that made sense in my question.
Oh, totally. I got you. I got you.
You got me, boo.
Yeah, totally. What was the question again?
Well, talking to these men, and they compare you to other girls, like, oh, Jenny, they'll text you, oh, you're just too, gosh, you're so harsh. Gosh,
Yeah,
you're so this. And you're like,
why
I
are
don't think
you?
so. Why are
Yeah,
you?
why are you so mean? And that's like, I'm like,
Oh, why are you so mean?
I am totally like not mean at all whatsoever. And the fact that
I'm
you
honest.
think that I am mean, I'm not sure what kind of girls you've been dating. Yeah.
What kind of girls have you been dating that you think this is mean? I'm just being clear. Yes.
Exactly. Just being clear and just having boundaries, and they're just like, you're mean. And I think too that these men, like, they see, like, a strong woman, confident woman, and they think that they want that, but then so then they try and date us, and they're like, oh wait, but I can't do that.
This
Like,
is a lot of work.
yeah, this is a lot of work.
Yeah. A past partner, left. And I remember a girlfriend said, oh, Joanna, the guy for you would never leave you. Because I was under the impression, oh, maybe he'll come back. Maybe, set it free. That saying, if you love something, set it free, it'll come back. And my girlfriend was like, he would never leave you. The guy that really is for you, he would never leave you. And I hated when she said that. I'm like, ugh. And now I can see it in aerial view, looking back, like you said, looking back at that day that happened with your fiance. And I'm like, oh, I get what she's saying now. But I couldn't get it when she said it at that moment. I wanted to punch her. right? And I'm like, "Oh, I see it. Yes, that, that." And I think it's that energy when you're talking to the universe and like that, you're just pointing, you can't even put words to it. I'm like, "That's what I would like, and that, and that, and that." And it'll be gifted, and having so much faith that he is there, he will come into my life. And if it takes 40 something years, it takes 40 something years. It takes 50 years, it takes 60 years, I will find him. And I wonder, Jeanieva, if I'm going to have 10 men, 10 husbands. Who knows? I mean, I'm already like halfway through my life with so many more years, and I'm already like writing the end of the story, right? I think, at least when I was in my teens, I was writing the end of the story already. I was already like, I'm going to get married at this age and I'm going to do this and this. Gosh, I was barely in chapter 1, and I was writing the end of the book. And I'm like, now that I'm at this age, I can't even see where I'm going to be in my 90s, right? I'm like, that's so far away. Who knows where I'll be? So I think
Yeah.
yeah, gals that are listening out there, and men, have the courage to choose you. And it may not look like the norm in this reality. And are you willing to choose you?
Yes, I love that. I love that. And some days it's going to be easier to choose you than other days.
Amen. Amen. Right now, you're seeing the highlight reel of me and Jeanieva. You're not. I wish we could do a live when we're like you and I, just on the floor,
Yeah.
not doing well, calling gals or whomever. You got to have that person that will remind you of how magical you are, and yet not go down to where you are. Everybody get what I'm saying? That person, they're not going to go down and fight with you on the lower vibration. They're going to stay up there, and they're going to give you a hand. It's like if you're drowning, you're not going to jump in there and save them. You're going to throw them a raft and pull them out. That's how I kind of see it, right? Unless you have to jump in there. But if you don't have to jump in there and you can just throw them a little thing to bring them to the shore, that's the person I think that is, at least for myself, required when I'm down. And I just need a reminder. I need a reminder that I am good, because right now I can't see it. I can't see it right now. You're in a dark room. So you're asking your friend, just turn on the light for me. That's all I need. Give me 5 minutes, turn on the light, because I can't even see where the switch is.
Yes. Yes. And I love that we can be that for each other. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. And thank you for lifting us up and lifting me up. And gals, have that person on your, and if not, find her. It's just like you and I, Jeanieva, are on the journey of finding that gentleman. Well, be on the journey of finding that girlfriend. That's not going to go down there. I think that's the biggest thing, because I've had friends that'll go down there with me, and I'm like, no, don't go down here with me. I don't need 2 negative Nancys. Stay up here and pull me up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, let's fight and let's talk about how awful he is. No, I don't need that right now. Just, pull me out. Don't jump in the pool with me, please. Don't jump in the pool. So
Yeah.
I like that analogy.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, people just don't know, and, we have the best of intentions, but they're like, oh, well, I'm just empathizing with you. And I'm also sharing how, my life sucks in the same way. And I think, some people are just viewing it as empathy, or don't understand how to comfort people without, commiserating with them. And the intentions are there, and I could see that, but I also understand what you're saying. It's like, no. I need help, get me out. Like,
Yeah.
don't come in this. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of Abraham Hicks, and how, coming to, we want 2 people at that lower vibration,
Right.
where have the friends in your life that can't be pulled out of their vibe,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm going to jump out of my vibe to go join you in the lower vibrating. Yeah. So I think out of this conversation, 1 is choosing you. Are you willing to choose you? And number 2, finding that person, that high vibrating person that you can alter when you are down. Because like you said at the beginning, and I asked you, how did you get out? You said faith and friends asking for help. And I'm like, amen to that. For me, it's like faith and knowing. 2 is like actual tools. And 3 is asking for help. Like I thought I asked for help years ago, but that was such a lie. I would tell people my problems and expect them to help me. That wasn't asking for help,
Yeah.
but like truly, clearly, I am drowning. I need help. Pull me back up. Tell me how amazing I am because I can't see it right now. Yeah. So I hope that was helpful to everybody listening or watching. And Jeanieva, how can everybody follow you? Uh, you know, um, how can they get a hold of you?
You can get a hold of me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram under Jeanieva Faith Official. I'm also on Facebook as Jeanieva Faith. My website is reikibyjeanieva.com. I offer a bunch of different healing services, based on my own personal experiences. So, yeah, I have like all my contact information on my website and even on Instagram and Facebook. So yeah, let's stay connected. I would love to hear from you. Ask me questions
Yeah, Geneva's really good at like, "Hey, this happened to me, help me out," type of thing, because there's also like a part 2 that we gotta do with other things that have happened. So we'll do a
yeah.
part 2 so that we can share more of that as well. Geneva, thank you so much for spending the time with the gals and here on Facebook as well. I appreciate you. I adore you. And until next time, gals, remember to get back up.
Thank you. Love you.